Welcome to B2B Commerce Corner. Commerce Corner is a sub-series of the eCommerce Edge podcast discussing all things B2B commerce through the lens of agencies, consultants, merchants, and more. Enjoy. Mr. Denis DYLI, I have been wanting to have you on the podcast for a while now. We finally pulled finger and made it happen. You are the founder of and CEO of Uncap, a Shopify Platinum partner, but you also have a deep focus on and specialization in B2B e-commerce. And you've been, let's say, I would call you a B2B on Shopify evangelist is what I would call you. And you've been pushing that pretty hard through your content for a long time now on LinkedIn. And you've now built a Shopify app and an accelerator for B2B. But before we get into all that, why don't you tell us how Denis came to be here and why? Why Shopify? Why B2B? Why e-commerce at all? Why an agency? Like, how did you get here?
Love the starting. So first of all, I appreciate the opportunity to get to meet you and to be part of this podcast. So thanks for that. So my story, I'm from Albania. I grew up over there. In 2011, I came here to Chicago to graduate, to get my master's. And back then I had an agency. We had like software development, design, and so forth, but it was local. When I started working here in Chicago, I worked for an enterprise Magento agency for 3 years while I was going to school. I got to learn more in depth the e-commerce momentum that Magento ecosystem had. And I loved it, but then I come from a family of entrepreneurs, but then I got more obsessed with e-commerce in general. But when I left, I finally graduated and I left the agency that I was working. At that time, I decided I'm going to find and pick a platform where I do believe the future will be built around. And it was the momentum of cloud solutions at that time. MailChimp was becoming something big. Shopify is getting momentum, not big, but like it was getting momentum. And I believe that cloud software, cloud platforms are going to be the future. I had that fundamental belief. And so like I jumped to Shopify. So in 2013, I actually was just alone, one person, but I had registered as partner. And since then, we have been doing only Shopify. But one thing that changed throughout this journey is as we were getting bigger projects, Shopify was growing. And in 2018, we became Shopify Plus partner, which is at that time like big deal. What I noticed is that all the agencies in the ecosystem were focusing only on the fancy brands, all birds, and everybody's fighting for the same shiny object out there, verticals that are purely D2C. And I realized that there are a lot of businesses out there, obviously mostly SMB, not large accounts, but they were looking for similar technologies, similar solutions, similar needs as the cool folks of the D2C. And so like we were building more of these projects that were unsexy, unheard of brands that you wouldn't even know that they do 15, 20 millions in the back end. But then you go to the website, it's built in 1997. But they were like they had an audience, they had a product, they had an offering that was like stellar. So we started to build to bring these kind of verticals more and more around the ecosystem. And so that's how everything started to focus more into B2B because we realized that kind of like small SMB distributors, SMB unified commerce, if you call, some manufacturers were asking for the same things. And so around 2011, we built an app. We built a Shopify app for B2B. We built a theme that we customized that was only designed for B2B, for large catalogs and so forth. So we started to focus on that. Then rest of history. Now we are doing more and more larger builds, more and more complex implementations, enterprise sometimes. And so that's where we are here.
Wow. What an exciting journey on building for and skating to where the puck is going, I think is the only way agencies are going to survive moving forward. That's the reality is that I've run and built agencies, so I know how hard that is. So I have a lot of respect for anybody who's trying to build and maintain an agency and grow it in the market. I know how hard that is. I know how competitive it is. I know with AI, it's getting even more competitive. Look, I get it. I guess my top question would be, especially as of about, say, 5 years ago, why double and triple down on Shopify? And the reason I ask that is because, look, I've been in this industry for 26 years, right? Shopify has never been known as a B2B platform. It's
Correct.
never been that good as a B2B platform, frankly. And
Sure.
both agencies that I worked in, we worked with Shopify. So I'm not slagging Shopify. Shopify is an awesome
No.
platform.
No.
It is totally applicable for millions of merchants worldwide.
Right.
Obviously, they have dominant market share in the SaaS e-commerce space. There's no question about that. But historically, it's been a D2C/B2C platform, and a bloody good one. And it has allowed many businesses who otherwise would have either struggled to go online at all, or it would have cost them a lot more and would have taken them a lot more
Right.
time. Shopify has been a massive accelerant for these, particularly SMBs, like the
Correct.
sub $100 million businesses. Like they changed the game. There's no question about
100%.
that. And in fact, everyone else in the market is playing catch up to Shopify today. I
Yes.
am not disputing that. But as a B2B platform, pretty average, right? And
Right.
historically, I worked with Shopify back when they only had the wholesale channel, and completely crappy. Like, I would have
Yeah.
never recommended that to any of my B2B clients historically.
Yeah.
Absolutely shocking experience, and then 2 years ago, roughly 2.5 years ago, B2B on Shopify Plus started to be released.
Right.
And they started to release, at the very least, what they started to do, which was exciting for me, is to recognize that the data primitives required to support B2B buyer workflows are very different, right? So
Yes.
they brought in the concept of organizations. They brought in the concept of buying an account. They brought in the concept of multiple catalogs, right? Instead of just one singular catalog, multiple catalogs. They brought in the concept of price lists, right? They brought in
Yes.
they brought in the concept of different buyers needing to do different things inside of a B2B buying org. And so a lot of the core data primitives are now native to the platform, which means we can do more with it than we were ever able to do before. But doesn't have a CPQ, which is table stakes in B2B, like to be able to manage quotes. It doesn't have a PIM system, kind of table stakes for most B2Bs. Like
Correct.
most B2Bs today, especially distribution, if we think about the differences between B2B and retail, just start with the catalog.
Yeah.
In retail, if you have 20,000 SKUs and you're a retailer,
Oh,
that's a big catalog. If you got 1 million SKUs as a distributor, you're still in the baby end. If you got 4 or 5 million SKUs, then you start to get to be a decent sized distributor. So
for sure.
and the complexity of the products that are sold in B2B wild,
Yes.
Shopify doesn't have buyer permissions. It doesn't have the concept of buyer hierarchies and permissions and escalations. They're just like I could just go on and on about the things that Shopify doesn't have
Right.
that support, but the core data primitives, the absolute bare minimum, they've added. But
Yes.
what I will say, and then I'm going to hand it over to you, it seems as though, even though they made big noise when they started releasing B2B features a few years ago now, it seems as though it's been relegated yet again to being just a side quest. And the reason I say that is because the release of B2B features, enhanced B2B features, has dramatically slowed. They just don't seem to have the focus on B2B that they, to much fanfare, they said, look, we realize the market is heading towards B2B. We realize that many of our existing D2C merchants want to add strategic wholesale channels. So we know B2B is a thing, and we know, based on every market estimate we can get our hands on, that B2B e-commerce is going to grow at 8 to 10x the rate of retail e-commerce over the next decade, right? So they made lots of noise, lots of announcements. It was rumored that they spent over $1 billion adding these B2B features to the core platform and making it backwards compatible with everything else that's native to Shopify. But now, apart from the announcement today that they're going to release all those B2B features to every plan, not just Shopify Plus. So that's great. But it just seems to be that B2B inside Shopify wax and wanes in terms of prioritization. What is your take?
Oh boy, you just covered a ton of conversations here. So you're going to have to let me rumble as well.
Please.
There are a lot of things. So first of all, starts from with you when you tweeted up the wholesale channel. Like in 2019, I've spoken in front of the whole Shopify team. We were invited at the headquarters because we did at that year one of top 4 agencies that did more migrations from other platforms to Shopify. We have been always Shopify exclusive. And so I said this on stage in front of everybody that Shopify is not Shopify, but the whole ecosystem is underserving, underappreciating the verticals that are within that could utilize exactly the same tools and technologies that we are, and wholesale channels just doesn't work. Like I have been internally also, as much as I can, with the voice that I have, evangelist of doing these changes. I hope I have helped even just one. I've contributed a piece of on that kind of innovation, that change. Not that I'm saying I have an influence, but I hope I have had. So the point is also, I know internally that we have had connections with product teams and so forth. It is complex. Shop B2B is also completely different. Trying to find ways to solve problems the same way how you would solve the D2C complex components, it's impossible, purely. Like every business that we work with, every single day brings up, oh my God, not another workflow, another process. I've never heard of this. This is okay. And it's very difficult to convince these folks to say, you know what, maybe you can change that completely, but you will get like a lot of other things on this side. And then you have to, you're going to miss this, that is critical important. In the B2B environment, in the distribution verticals, that is more complex. And again, we know is that like from the general consensus, like the biggest pet peeve I have is that when they categorize everything B2B, which is not like completely different, like manufacturing is a different beast, has nothing to do with the way how distribution works, has nothing to do with the wholesale, how wholesale works. And we know that most of people still categorize that in the same bucket, which is not exactly the same at all. But every one of these verticals or like segments has different needs. So trying to build something for everyone, obviously from what I can see, it's challenging. Okay. So how I understand Shopify, and I come to this conclusion from looking at the Shopify's vision through the early stages, even the B2C, like these conversations that we are having right now was had 10 years ago when Shopify was going after Magento, like D2C, and you are going to go and lock your rates and not use your payment gateway. Boy, I've had these conversations with hundreds of people. I'm not going to switch from Magento because I have better rates at my checkout 10 years ago with authorized.net, whatever. Look at now, everybody is in Shopify. So the point is that I'm looking from the perspective of Shopify, trying to cover everything what you asked, by the way. I think they're going back to the DNA. They realized, or I think and I believe that they know that they're building an operating system. They're not building a product that you would go and compare feature per feature. Because even when Shopify did start to own the D2C world, if you would have compared feature per feature, you always were at a loss. Because Magento always would offer 1,000 more capabilities that most likely, I remember, 90% were never even used. And you would go to Shopify and say, dude, I can't even create a discount or like a custom promotion. And it's so...
Or I can only have one automatic promotion running at a time. That's insane.
Exactly. That's insane. But then what you would see is that the ecosystem start to build solutions that would be very compatible. And most of the time, 99% of the time, they were still way more efficient than what you would get in Magento. And I'm just bashing Magento because I don't want to bash.
Oh, don't worry. I started my entire career in the Magento ecosystem. So I saw the whole evolution myself. And I saw when Shopify started to kill the Magento ecosystem off because, and even as an agency, once we started working with Shopify and even BigCommerce to a lesser extent, we were blown away. We were blown away even as an agency delivering projects on these platforms. We were blown away by how much more we could focus on the front end experience. And we were blown away by how much we could focus on really tailoring the UI UX versus spending 50% of the budget just to keep the lights on and build the infrastructure. Like we were blown away as an agency of how transformative that was for us. And we had to reorientate our resources away from DevSecOps. We had to completely change the composition of our agency to deliver totally different services versus what we used to deliver in the Magento ecosystem, where you had to have hardcore DevSecOps capabilities in the Magento world, and you had to have hardcore server configuration capability. Like you needed a full-time DevSecOps team just to maintain the infrastructure that would sit behind a Magento site. Whereas in the new world, we were like, oh my God, this. At first we thought, this is going to cut off a whole revenue stream for us. But then we
Mhm.
thought, actually, this opens up a whole new way for us to service
Exactly.
customers in a way that they actually perceive value. Because the reality is, in the old Magento way, we knew we had to provide those services from an infrastructure perspective, but the customer never saw value in it. They were
Of
like,
course.
why am I spending 50% of my retainer a month just to maintain the infrastructure? That's insane. But that's what
Installing
was required.
patches.
Yeah, patches, updates,
Yeah.
maintenance, Nginx, Redis, like virtualization, like it was wild. And then managing all the different licenses that you needed if you were going to run additional front end servers versus additional back, it was wild. It was
Yeah.
wild. So I totally agree with you. Shopify changed the game in that regard.
Correct. So now let's go to B2B. What I believe, and I'm betting my business out of the way how we are going to go all on the product that we are going to launch next month for the public. This is a huge risk. It's a bet, but I'm a fundamental believer, either go in or go home, as they say. I'm a believer because I think they are going back to the foundations. I think it was a big experiment last couple of years, trying to, again, as they say, put a square to a, whatever the term is, to a circle,
Square peg in a
square,
round hole.
Yeah, correct. I don't know the exact term, but it was an attempt to make that work, which it backfired. In some cases, it was even worse than anticipated. And I made a joke. I've been making these jokes even last year. I made a joke. You know that meme where the Godfather, look at you did to my boy, and I'm imagining Toby thinking when he would look at the enterprise kind of implementation, broken in 1,000 pieces, looking at that, what are you doing to my boy? In my mind, I was imagining him. The point what I'm making is, I think they went back to the foundation. So we want to become the operating system. We want to launch more APIs, which I know for a fact more capability are coming in the product infrastructure. So then the ecosystem is going to be built around it. Same thing as Klaviyo did, same thing as Yappa did, same thing as all of these other or gorgeous name like dozens that evolved with the ecosystem. They built that with the whole D2C world needed at that time, 10 years ago. Now we are in a new phase of evolution where now B2B is going to take it's the new frontier. But Shopify, I believe, is going to, whoever is pretending that Shopify is going to build, portals and workflows and all of these unique custom solutions that are needed for the B2B, I don't think they're coming. So like the ecosystem has the opportunity to build. And I know a lot of agencies are building accelerations and stuff like that, but there is also opportunity to build products. That's what we are building. And it's just, I believe, sometimes stars align. I wasn't having any idea that, I didn't know that Shopify is going to release all the primitives for the whole ecosystem, but we built for 1 year the product that we are launching with B2B primitives because we were only planning to sell it to the Shopify Plus ecosystem. Now, obviously, we just overnight 10x our tab. So this is what I'm invested in, is to be an evangelist to the ecosystem that for the engine component CPQ, we are building something that it's not out there. We don't even have a competitor. When I demo, you will realize what I'm talking about, because we have been working with some engineers from top AI labs of the world that are part of the team that has been working the product to really build something remarkable in all directions. Now, obviously, this is the first version, so it will have some bugs and stuff like that. But as we scale up, this is going to be a truly remarkable revenue engine, CPQ, CRM, and CLM designed for manufacturing and distributors who are mid-market. Now, as the business goes up market and more enterprise, new opportunities are going to be open. But even believe that what really industry called enterprise, I don't even believe that they are even interested to look at Shopify either. It doesn't matter what Shopify can offer.
Yes.
I just think they want to control the infrastructure in-house. They want more products that are built for them, exclusive. US Foods is not going to never come to Shopify. They will build their own version. Like, that's what I believe. Or name it Cisco, or you name it another distributors.
Or they may not, like I'm working with a huge distributor, the fourth largest in their vertical in the United States right now. And they're not going to build their own, they're definitely not going to go Shopify because of the complexity that they have. But what they're going to do is they're going to go with a proper enterprise B2B e-commerce platform that is built from the ground up. It was never like the 4 or 5 platforms we're looking at. They were never D2C platforms. Like, they were always built for really complex B2B distribution workflows. And out of the box, they've got all that complexity native to the platform with maybe some minor configuration, maybe some minor customizations for
Correct.
their exact workflows. But this is a 115-year-old third generation family owned distribution company. And so like they're huge and they're right across the whole United States, and they only do distribution. They don't do
Exactly.
D2C, they don't do manufacturing. They are a wholesale distribution company, but they also do design build in their vertical. And so they have a lot of value add services wrapped
I see.
around the products that they distribute. And so therefore, they've also been on an acquisition spree over the last couple of years where they've acquired like 10 of their competitors. So they've got 10 different ERPs that they're dealing with and all sorts.
Oh,
So they've got like insane complexity, right? And so there's just no way that they would just wouldn't even consider Shopify. It wouldn't even cross their
understood.
mind to think of
Course.
Shopify. And so in that world, Shopify, I don't think even wants to win, but I think
Fair.
in the SMB distribution space or the SMB manufacturing space, or
Correct.
for all the D2C brands that want to establish some strategic wholesale channels and they want to dabble in that B2B side of the business without disrupting their entire Shopify ecosystem that they're already running. Like, I feel like Shopify's a great fit in those three scenarios. So why not let Shopify do what it's great at, which is disrupting the bottom end of the market, particularly where simplicity is the number one priority.
Correct.
And ease of management of the platform is the number one priority. And where these people have small teams that they're trying to manage a big business with a small team, like that's a perfect fit as far as I'm concerned.
Of course. Here's another opportunity there is something in the middle of what you just said. Like there's SMB and then there is enterprise, but there's also enterprise. I can't name the name, but there's a huge brand that we are launching on Shopify. It's just final tweaks with account and whatnot systems that we have. It's a huge brand, but they have segmented verticals within the United States. It's a global organization, obviously, but they have segmented verticals, parts, and they have segmented verticals for different line of products that they're selling to different segments within the United States. So then if you look at them, they're enterprise. Obviously, they're going to bring only one certain line of products on Shopify that may be whatever, 20 million, 40 million, 50 million. It's perfect for them. If that also an option, so if we're looking at the enterprise that they have segmented verticals within the organization, Shopify, it's a perfect fit. But like bringing $1 trillion on a Shopify account, I agree with you. I don't see that coming either. I don't think even Shopify wants that. Truth to be told.
And they wouldn't even tell you. They would automatically qualify themselves out of those deals. Like they wouldn't even pretend that they wouldn't even come in and say, "Oh yeah, we can do that." They just wouldn't. They just wouldn't do that.
Or we'll do that headless. Just kidding.
Yeah, exactly. So tell me. So obviously, Shopify in the App Store. If you were to go into the App Store today and you were to type in B2B, there's 25 apps in the App Store that say they specialize in B2B, all the way from Sparklayer, Wholesale Gorilla, and all the rest. And look, a lot of these guys are doing great stuff and have been doing great stuff in the B2B space for a really long time on Shopify. And frankly, they've probably been evangelizing Shopify on B2B. They've been evangelizing it forever, right? Since their founding. And so I think that's been good for the ecosystem. So how do you plan to start to differentiate yourselves from some of the other B2B specific Shopify apps that are already out there in the marketplace?
So first of all, we are not building an app. This is a standalone platform. So it's fully integrated with Shopify primitives in every aspect of it. Think of like Klaviyo, but it's not an embedded app.
It sits outside of Shopify.
It sits outside because it just can't be, because there are things that just cannot be built on Shopify purely because of the way it's fully agentic, as I said, and it just can't. Like I can't explain the details, but when you see the demo, you will realize that it just can't be done. The way how it's synchronized with email, client emails and so forth, because like it's built for the sales team. It's not a tool built for operations, or it's built for admins who run the e-commerce, right? Or support that runs e-commerce. So because of these things, because it's a standalone platform, this is what we are bringing to the table. Number one. Number two, it has been designed for 1 year in the back end to embed the most edge cases that we have seen for the mid-market. Things that we simply can't even build, even if you want to. One problem, like one scenario, configurables, right? When you go and build a configurable and you go on Shopify, you build a configurable, you have a dozen apps. You can bring 1,000, whatever they are. The problem is that when you build that configurable, At the end of the selection, you are generating a fake SKU for the order's purpose, but that SKU is not connected with the catalogs, with the company, with the pricing, with all of that, with inventory, with ERP pricings and so forth. So it's a completely disconnected. It just doesn't work. You can't do that otherwise. Because we did it completely different, we made it work. It doesn't have to be that way. It's designed to be completely different. We can build billions of kind of configurations. And again, it's the way how we are creating rules and we creating the logic. It doesn't even require a developer to set up a configurable. The idea that I have, the vision that I have in mind, and is that a configurable is a canned email for the sales team. It's not a utility for the website, right?
Yes.
A salesperson should be able to create a configurable probably only for one customer if they want to. And so we made it as easy as possible, as intuitive as possible, as that simple as possible, yet extremely robust, equally as you would do it with Logic or other CPUs you have in the marketplace or our platform. And when the end result is selected into that kind of a configurable, doesn't matter how long it is, how big it is, how complex it is, all the bill of materials maps completely with B2B primitives, with company profiles that the buyer is selecting. And it just gives you exactly the final list of the bundle price that you have for that bundle that you're buying. You just can build it. It's not that they haven't been attempted. It's just the way, if we build it embedded, it just can't be done that way. So this is where we are coming completely different. Like we are really bringing these capabilities that are extremely essential, but very complex, and make it available for anybody who would use it without having to build it, to have a technical background, or even to hire an agency to implement it. Now, obviously, there will be agency partners that implement it for larger or more complex use cases, because we are also going to build a network of partners around us. But the base primitives should be plug and play day one, whoever wants to implement it, the sales team that wants to implement it. And the last thing that I want to add here is that my thesis is that CPQ has been always part of the ERP.
100%.
Always,
It's been a back office function, not a customer facing function historically.
not a customer facing. So it's not part of the revenue team, it's part of the operational team. Now, in my thesis is that does not make sense. That's very old hierarchy. And I believe that within 5 to 10 years, that is going to be completely decoupled. As again, go back to email marketing was part of marketing suites, like Pronto was part of NetSuite. For
Search
example,
merchant
like
personalization, which were
correct.
always decoupled, but we now know those experiences need to be part of the same system, because everything that's coming in through those systems needs to inform each other. It's that simple.
100%. Integration with ERP is fully direct. Like what we are building, it's like the data should flow both sides, and we're not inventing it. Like that's common. There are also iPasses and tools that we can utilize. The point is the area, the environment, what we call deal room, where the sales team, buyers team, and agents work together. The negotiation, the review, the approvals, all of these things that are completely edge cases tailored for B2B, mainly manufacturers, more distributors, less the for wholesale. Wholesale is way more simplistic. The environment where sales team works, whether it's inside sales or outside sales, doesn't really matter, should be an environment where it's designed for a sales team. It's not designed for ops. It's not designed for marketing team, because there are completely different teams that are going to operate. So again, the function of sales and revenue is going to be decoupled and going to be aligned more with commerce, and that's where we're going to sit. That's my long-term vision for Uncap.
And two questions that immediately drop out of that. One is it the intent to also surface this CPQ functionality in the front end to customers directly,
Yes.
not just
Yes.
to sales teams? That's the first question. Two, what do we do about CRM? Because typically CPQ has to be connected to the CRM somewhere. Yes, it's connected to the ERP because typically the rules originate in the ERP, but the deal management process has to live inside of the CRM typically. Yeah. And so that way you understand what the deal pipeline looks like. You understand what your won lost ratio is. You understand what discounts you had to give. There's certain things about the CRM process that are integral to the CPQ process. Like it's almost impossible to separate them, especially through the eyes of a sales rep. So how do you think about the world of CRM in relation to your CPQ capability?
CRM, CPQ, and CLM are both all three part of the platform. The same
Okay.
thing that we're building. So we're building the CRM as well. Now, obviously, our CRM is a bit light mode because we just can't build all these modules.
You're not going to build Salesforce. There's no point.
Yeah, and I don't want to. That's not. I don't see them as a
That's not the
competitor.
goal.
But that's not the goal. But we are building a CRM that for Shopify stores is at least 10 times better than they would use HubSpot, for example, which is not fully integrated, which is not integrated with Shopify. It doesn't really even communicate. It doesn't do anything for the sales team that has a Shopify store. It would be a good marketing tool or tracking or whatnot, but it doesn't work. It just doesn't work.
Yeah.
So like for HubSpot, at least we have a relevant CRM that is as competitive as their CRM. But now ours is fully synced with Shopify's B2B primitive. So the CRM, you have the vision, you have the view where not only the tracking and lifecycle and all of that and mapping,
revenue recognition and all that,
all of that, but also it's fully synced with Shopify's B2B primitives, which catalog they are assigned, company they are assigned, who is the buyer underneath the company. Then from our CRM, you'll be able to then, which this is something that we have outside of Shopify, because as you said, Shopify account permissions are not available, but we have these custom permissions that are built in our CRM, where then these permissions then also are enabled on the checkout and the experiences that we have for customers facing.
And a login and all that.
And all of the, like, number one. Number two, there's also that self-serving experience. Now, our self-serving experience is, again, fully tied with the platform. It's pretty much just embedded a page. And it also goes to the Shopify customer account to see all the list of draft orders or a list of quotes and everything, so they can see the statuses before they are processed as orders. And that's also thought through. But think of this, our experience more of I'm going to go back to the gorgeous customer support. So it's designed to be more of a agentic quote builder, where you can start building configurations and building quotes, whether you build them from the product page or you start that in your own and start discovering. These are all experiences that you can build as a buyer yourself. And if you are already a B2B customer, that you are building these and you are logged in, then you will get the final bill of materials that are aligned to your catalog, and you can check out if you want. If you want, you can request a quote that, again, goes back to the system for the sales team to review and blah, blah, blah. If you are a guest customer and you are just asking for a quote, you have never been part of the catalog or any company profile, then you create that draft order in the back end, or quote, how we call it, or PO, or whatever. And then it will come back to the sales team to start the process of negotiation, review, approval, you name it, all of the things that are B2B essential workflows.
So in your view, it sounds, and I'm sure you'll correct me if I'm wrong, it sounds like what you are trying to build effectively relegates Shopify to a catalog and a cart system. Like that's effectively all, and you're leveraging that scalability, that
Correct.
Infrastructure, so that you don't have
Correct.
to build the infrastructure of the catalog and the cart. You don't have to build that because that's been built. But that's effectively, I mean, there's a couple of other little things, and maybe there's a couple little storefront things, of course.
Correct.
But in general, you're just really leveraging Shopify for 3 or 4 data primitives. That's it.
Companies, catalogs. We are also pulling all the products from there. We're not creating product. It's not a PIM system. So we are pulling either product information directly from the ERP, if we are building that integration, or from the product, from the PIM, where it depends, again, case by case. Eventually, we'll build more integrations. It will scale. But so we don't have a product catalog. That's not built in us. The other thing, what we are synchronizing is just order history and customer history. So then again, our agents can read all what has been the history of these customers in the past, and then bring you relevance. For example, as you well know, you want to track what the margins, what inventory, like what deals have I given to these customers before? This customer buy this product every month with this frequency, but also with this quantity. But I also have 1 million SKUs inventory, but I want to push it and I want to move it. I can give them a better discount, but I need I need to have that information in my fingerprint. I don't need to go to the ERP. I don't need to go to the CRM. I don't need to go to Shopify to get that information. You just ask chat and you will get that from all the sources of information, and then it will make a decision or let it make a decision for you. That's the vision, right? And that's what we have been building. It's not just a tool it's not a code builder. That's why I call it revenue engine. And maybe I'm overselling it. I'm not, but I'm not exaggerating, but it's a tool that will help the sales team, whoever is leading and managing, accelerate their cash to put by 10x just from the sake of the fact that they don't have to log in multiple screens to make decisions and check all these components of the B2B process to qualify and vet and approve. Number one. And number two, with all the agentic tools that we are bringing, we want to give the salesperson, without having to go check the notes and again, go to the ERP, to the inventory, to all these tools that are, or systems that are giving them all the insights they need to have to upsell, cross-sell, bundle. And if there are products that are not inventory, what are the alternatives? There are products that are similar, but they are not, compare them on the fly. And so these are the things that they need to make decisions, but they take 15 minutes, 30 minutes to cross that information around all these systems to make that decision. So just for the sake of expediting the quote to cash speed, we are going to be winning, and they're going to be winning. And it accelerates and here's the other thing. It will be a win for us because they win. It will be a win for Shopify because now they're realizing revenues from their own payment and their own checkout. It will be a win for the partners in the ecosystem because they could bring deals, realize more revenue. So it's a momentum that it's just all the boxes are checking. And I'm so excited and so passionate about this because I just don't see any part that is losing in this what we are building, whether customer or the client, whether Shopify, our partner or us. It's a win-win deal for everyone.
I love it. How far away do you think we are before the traditional web interface of today, the traditional e-commerce interface of today, home, category, PDP, cart, checkout? How far away are we from that completely disappearing in favor of a single chat box when we arrive at a website? Because the reality is people are being trained pretty quick to use chat interfaces, and they just expect it to pull whatever information is needed at that time to present them with what they want. If it's a my account functionality that you're looking for, then why should I have to click into my account? Why should I have to click on a tab?
Exactly.
Why should I have to look at my order history? Why can't I just say, show me my last 3 orders, or show me the status of my most recent order, or, hey, look, I'm looking for a product that does this in this scenario, that fits this device. Why do you think, or maybe I'll flip that question on its head. Do you think that the traditional e-commerce interface of today that we've had for 25 plus years now, do you think it survives in 2 years' time, 3 years' time? Do you think that traditional interface is the norm anymore?
I don't know the answer of that, but I will answer the first question. How far are we having that experience? I would say we are going to build that within probably 6 months to 8 months. Guaranteed. That whether the customer wants to do that to navigate the catalog or go through the chat and ask the chat and bring everything what they just presented, that is going to be, as we train our product, our AI, our agents, our LLM better to make sure that there is more relevance, especially in large catalogs, you understand. And especially the biggest problem is that data is not there. The problem is, as it will be an involvement of the whole ecosystem, as PIMS comes in the market, the data gets more structured, the data get more robust. As data gets
I'm actually
robust,
wondering, with my recent experience with vector databases and large language models and everything else, I'm actually wondering if this big push to structure all product data better, getting it into a PIM, then structuring it even further and enriching it even further in the PIM, then syncing it to an e-commerce experience, I'm wondering if that's even going to be necessary in the next 24 months. And the reason I say that is because if you just dump all your product information into a large vector database and it's vectorized, you can start asking, it's like today, in Gemini, I can upload a 500-page PDF. and I can ask it very granular questions about information in that PDF. It'll point me to the
Yeah.
page. It will bring out quotes. It will summarize information for me in an
Yeah.
instant. In fact, it already summarizes contract information for me today. I received a partner contract the other day. It was like 30-page partner contract. I just uploaded it to Gemini. I'm saying, give me a summary, give me the bullet points, give me the gotchas.
Correct.
This is what I'm looking to achieve. What would you recommend I change in the verbiage? Boom. It came back 10 seconds later, gave me all the answers that I was looking for, told me exactly what needed to be edited. Modern vector databases are so impressive.
100%.
And once we vectorize all that information, it doesn't matter whether it's an exploded drawing, it doesn't matter whether it's a CSV, it doesn't matter whether it's a PDF, it doesn't really
Correct.
matter what the data format is, because we've got multimodal AI now.
Correct.
The reality is, I'm just wondering if all this hyperstructuring of data is actually even going to be required in another 24 months.
If the customer's behavior changed that fast that they didn't want this, I can predict that. And again, we speak because like we have this conversation because we are both tech savvy and very avant-garde, and we want to like use whatever is the latest. But I think 95% of people are not there yet. Now, will they just jump on this experience within 2 years? I don't know. I can't predict it. Maybe they will not. We used to say maybe it's the explosion. The explosion is as fast or even more faster than mobile like transition. So I don't know that. But the point what I'm making is that the catalogs and the web experience, I don't think they are going to go away. They may change, and there is a mix of both. But as well as mobile itself, it changes the catalog format. It made it mobile friendly.
Mm-hmm.
But we still interact with the websites as we did on the web 10, 15 years ago.
But give it 10 more years. But my question is, in 10 more years, when the students of today that are graduating and they've never done a Google search in their life, they've never,
I can't predict that
has never been, if their whole life of interacting with the internet is either a verbal chat interface or a chat box, if that's their whole exposure to the internet and that's what they grew up with, I think all bets are off at that point.
I'm not arguing. I just don't know that. I can't predict. It may very well be the case, 100%. I just don't know that. The only point that I have is that these new kids are still not going to be 99% of the buyer, even 10 years from now. Like the transition is going to be accelerated, and then the experience is going to be changing so fast, but there is still late adopters who are more prone to traditional experiences who are not going to die 10 years from now, right? So that both experience will evolve maybe for another 10 years, and then maybe another 10 years explodes more towards probably even not chat, just could be voice and whatever new devices that will come up 10 years. Let me tell you something. This is a remarkable story. This is 2017, and we were at Shopify Unite, the second one, Shopify Unite in San Francisco. And Harley mentioned that at the town hall yesterday. And so the lights went off. It was a very small crew, maybe 100 people. It wasn't that big of an event. We had nothing to do. So we were hanging around. And one of these, and Toby comes and hangs out around with us. And so we were just like in the yard having conversations, small pods. At the pod that we were hanging out with Toby, we were maybe at 20 people. Someone asks, it was a question regarding the stock. He started with a question about how do you envision the stock? Well, 2017, they just went public, or a year before. But also, where do you see Shopify 10 years from now? That was literally the question. And Toby laughed. It was just, let me tell you something. And that was the day that I drummed the Kool-Aid. This is the company I want to work with. I don't care at this point. It was just that experience. I have repeated this over the year, whoever knows me. He said this, I don't know, and I have no clue how the relationship between buyers and sellers is going to be 10 years from now. Because when I launched Shopify, we didn't have an iPhone. I could not predict that mobile is going to be what's today's shopping experience. Could not predict it. What I know for a fact, he said, is that whatever that experience, that relationship, that environment is going to be, Shopify is going to be avant-garde building technologies for that time. And that to me resonated as, okay, he's not building an e-commerce platform. He's not building a competitors of Magento or whatever. He's building a company, an operating system. And that, I was like, done. I understand the vision now. It's aligned. No one can predict how things will be in that 5 years, but we have to be building for that whenever that happens. And to answer your questions, I have no clue how things will be 10 years, but we'll be building for that, whatever that is.
I love it. I couldn't agree more. And that's why I still, after 26 years in the game, I still wake up just as excited today as I ever have. In fact, maybe even more so now. I know there's a lot of panic about AI replacing people and replacing consultants and replacing agencies and everything else. But I tell you, just like Toby said, they would adapt. I am hyper confident that the best people in this business will continue. I'm already starting to integrate AI into my delivery workflows for my clients to make myself more efficient for them and to understand all the different AI tooling that's available in the market. So if they ask me a question, at least I can speak competently and confidently to that question. And so I think that the best players in the game, they're not operating from a place of fear. They're operating maybe in some instances from a little bit of caution, but they're operating from a place of excitement, embracing the future, not just tolerating it. I am more excited today than I have ever been about the future of commerce. And again, like you, I don't have a crystal ball. I can't tell you exactly how this looks over the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years, but I can tell you that I will be there. And I can tell you that I will be helping to engineer the solutions of tomorrow using the best tools available at the time for the best channels available at the time. And commerce is not going away. Like, we had mercantile stores, we had the Sears and Roebuck catalog, we had e-commerce, we had person-to-person selling. Physical retail is still, it's 80% of all retail, 70%, 60% of all retail still done in physical stores. So physical stores ain't going away either. So I think that the interesting thing about this is that no matter what the tooling is, no matter what the interface is, we want to trade. The whole of the globe, the history of the world has been built on the back of trade. That's it.
100%.
That's it. So that's going to be here for the foreseeable future. Until we're all living in the metaverse, that is going to be the case. Listen, my friend, fabulous chat. If you could sprinkle fairy dust on the B2B e-commerce space and change one thing about it at the snap of your fingers, what would it be?
I would want the ecosystem to uplift itself with the speed of innovation. I still feel that a lot of partners, agencies are looking at the problem and solving the problems with today's tools. That's the only thing that I would want everybody to wake up and move with the speed of innovation, because things are changing so fast for everyone. And things that worked 2 years ago are not going to work next 2 years. So you build for next 2 years, not for what you used to build 2 years ago. That's the only thing that I have to share.
I love it. Couldn't agree more. Now, what's the best way to get a hold of you? I will drop a link to your LinkedIn profile and the Uncap website into the show notes. Other than that, how do you like people to reach out and have a conversation with you?
Yes, LinkedIn. I'm not in other social networks. I'm only available or connected to LinkedIn. The website, we're launching the new website by the end of the month. Hopefully we'll get that completed, the content, everything, to bring Uncap product to the masses, and then we'll go more product, not more, but all into product, and slow down the services. Not that I don't like the services, it was an amazing experience, but I think we are just in a different momentum right now, the whole industry. So I want to be part of this transformation from the innovation perspective, not just for the implementation. And so hopefully we're going to be working together.
Yes.
I'll be in that short list of partners that you just mentioned that are going to work with the best technologies out there. I hope pretty soon Uncap will be that short list.
I love it. I love it. Now, as we do come down to the end of our time together, this is where I get to flip the script. I get to hand the microphone over to you, let you ask me one question, any question you like. It can be personal or professional. So Denis DYLI, what is your question for me today?
Yeah. What is your take on headless implementation?
I think headless, it's interesting because I've never been a fan of headless. I've never been a proponent of headless. I have never recommended it to my clients. I have never seen the need for it. I have never, and I've been doing this a long time with some of the most complex businesses all the way down to the most simple businesses. I've never seen the value of it. But there's a giant caveat I would throw in there, in that over the last couple of years in particular, I have started to see the value of headless, not storefronts, not headless e-commerce storefronts, but particularly in B2B, we are now able to turn previously communication-only channels in the B2B world into headless commerce channels. And I'll give you an example. So email, WhatsApp, Slack, Teams, like all those channels that historically have only been used to allow customers to communicate with an account manager, say, for example, or send a PDF of a PO through to an account manager and say, hey, can you process this order for me? Or send a WhatsApp message, hey, do you have this item in stock? Hey, what's my price? Hey, what's my MOQ? Hey, we can now intercept those messages through those channels now and effectively turn them into headless commerce channels. We can answer those questions in an automated way. We have headless search, which can search the catalog in a headless way and respond because of two things: multimodal and conversational AI. If we can, the fusion of those two has made headless commerce totally reasonable and viable for B2B. And so I actually oddly think that headless commerce makes more sense for B2B than it does for B2C or D2C. Like I don't see a world where, at least for now, I do not see anything in Shopify or name your cart. I don't really see anything about their storefront, their out-of-the-box storefront technology that would prevent you from building almost anything. Like, there's just very few scenarios where you need to be like, okay, maybe if you've got a kiosk, or maybe if okay, sure, it's some embedded devices, sometimes they require a completely custom interface especially in physical spaces. But I think we're going to get to a place where everybody is interacting with the internet agentically before we have a real need for a headless storefront. I think the time has passed for the need for that today.
Thank you. I just wanted to listen. I just need to hear what your opinion is. So makes
Amazing.
sense.
Mate, it's been such a fabulous conversation. So nice to finally meet you as part of the podcast. Thank you for being a guest. I wish you every
Appreciate that.
success. What are you going to call, just so that everybody knows
Yeah,
what to look out for? What are you calling this new platform that you are building?
it's Uncap. This is going to be a new business. This is going to be the platform itself. We're not building a product and having the agency. We'll just transforming ourselves to a product.
I love it.
So
I love it. Thank you so much for your time.
You have to burn the ships. Like, you cannot hold both sides. It's hard. Not impossible,
Yes.
but it's extremely hard. So that's the
I
plan
think
we have.
coming from a services background, it's easier to build a product than to come from a product background and build services.
Right.
Because when you're delivering services, you got your finger on the pulse of what the market
Correct.
needs, because you had to build so many custom things for the
So
market.
true.
And by the time you've built the same custom thing 10 times over, it's, hey, maybe I should productize this damn thing. And it sounds like that is exactly what you've done. Really appreciate your time with me today. And hopefully at one of the next B2B conferences, like B2B e-commerce world in Indiana later this year. Hopefully I'm sure we'll cross paths at some stage. So I
Of
really
course.
appreciate your time. Thank you.
We'll grab a drink for sure.
Are you a B2B or D2C e-commerce merchant? Then head over to greenwoodconsulting.net to learn how we can help you scale your business.